Let's call to order the City of Ocean Shores Lodging Tax Committee meeting on Monday, November 3rd, 2025 at 10 a.m. This is a special meeting. Roll call, George,
Usually here.
Harold,
Gerald Prouse here.
Shannon.
Here,
Okay,
here.
I don't see Eugene either. I did not hear from him that he was not going to be here. Okay, so. So Eugene absent at this point.
I have his number. Do you want me to text him and see if he's coming?
Yeah, could you do that, Shannon?
Yeah.
I did not hear from him that he wasn't coming.
Okay.
So let's hold off until we hear.
Okay.
Did you print out the right time, Jamie?
I did.
I've got the same thing. I did the same thing the wrong one.
Oh.
I sent him a message, so see if he responds.
There he is. Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, and we're doing a roll call, so Eugene?
Present.
Leesver? Okay, you are here. All right, so the full committee. Can I have an approval of the meeting agenda?
I'll move to approve the meeting agenda as printed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do we have any public communication?
Don Williams did say he would like to talk.
Okay,
Yeah, are we on?
yeah, you're on, Don.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hope it's a good day for everybody. And I just want to reiterate some of the comments that I made at the last meeting, and I really want to thank the chairperson for actually reading them, as was another set of comments. And it has to do with the qualifications for applicants. And I want to just kind of briefly restate what was said before, and that is I made a comment about the Cultural Interpretive Center, and it had to do with federal tax exempt status, and they apparently are. And I guess if they've produced their 501c3 document, then they're qualified to be considered. The Master Gardeners, the Digit Shores project is a capital project, and it's definitely excluded under the law from even being considered. So I'm not sure how it got to this point. The third one that we talked about is the Ocean Shores Hospitality Collaborative. The point that I want to make there is it is not a tourism-related facility as defined. It's a training school, which may be good, but it does not meet the criteria, and it is also not a 501c3 federal tax exempt. So those are my comments, and I hope that unfortunately there does not seem to be a procedure in the LTAC for screening out whether an applicant is qualified at the head end. And when they get this far, it's disturbing to me anyway to see that the ones that I believe are certainly shouldn't be on the list are actually being considered. So that's something that has to be worked out, I guess, in the future, and I hope it will be. Thank you very much, and good session for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. And that's it for public communication. Okay, let's go on to new business. Request of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee of the City of Ocean Shores approving the LTAC fund holdback. And we had previously talked about whether we were going to do a 30% holdback or a 40% holdback. Sarah, do you have recommendations at this point?
I would say I would have a recommendation if this was going to be the holdback that also was followed through into your surplus LTAC funds in 2026. At this time, given the applications and the ones that don't qualify, I don't even think you'd meet that holdback requirement. So I think this is only a feasible motion if you're going to continue that into 2026's surplus.
Okay, well, let us not do anything at this point if that is all right. And we will get a final total of the applicants that we approve and see what that comes up to. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
That's perfect.
Yes.
Okay. And then the second item on new business is request of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee of the City of Ocean Shores approving a portion of holdback to be added to the Convention Center Reserve Fund. And Sarah, I'll ask a technical question here, because if we are not doing a holdback, what do we need in terms of creating a reserve fund for the convention center? I still would like the committee to consider that. So we don't have, you know, as we know, the convention center is a large facility. It's used very heavily, things come up. And I don't see the need for the convention center to continue to come to council for small requests of capital facilities. So I would like to set aside some of the LTAC funds, which appears to be within the realm of the use of the funds.
Correct. I think that one would be based on a percentage, and I think that it was always the geese under the resolution where they said that you could allocate 90%, that would be a minimum of that 10% would be the holdback for capital expenditures for the convention center. I think it very reasonable to at this time do it minimum 10%. Of course, anything above and beyond, we would just probably take that away from the holdback for the rest, is what I would say.
Okay, so if we do a 10% of the LTAC funds at this point, then when we go into next year, into 2026, and open it up again, at that point, if we do a holdback, then we could add to that 10% if needed.
Correct. So the summary that you see now, I would, have a starting balance, then I would deduct the 10% holdback plus any going forward, plus any remainder that's in there. And then after that, whatever's available would be available for surplus and the following year.
Okay, how does that work for the committee?
I think that's fine. I'd like to see what it would look like dollar wise in the past 2 or 3 years. How much was needed on an emergency basis or a surprise basis?
Well, the past 2 or 3 years, they have been capital improvements essentially, and because we did the HVAC, we did the soffits, but it took, George, correct me, 3-4 years to get the money for the soffits because the price of those kept going up. So it would be all of the capital requests that the convention centers asked for over the last couple years, and then I could provide what would have been had we held that 10% back, that they would have had to ask to use it, but it would have been there to use, kind of deal.
Okay.
I think that they should have a 10% holdback just in case of emergency basis anyways, just based on things that go wrong, things that may be needed. And I'm fine with the 10% number. It's, we have a budgetary number in the hotel that we have for an emergency basis. So I think that George did a very good job in being more conservative in his requests. And so I really don't want to penalize him for that and not give you guys the ability to function if need be.
Okay, would you be willing to put that into a motion, Shannon?
Yes, forgive me because I'm not great at this, but I'd like to motion that we have a 10% holdback for the convention center. So if I'm correct, that would be 663,500, correct? And that we set that aside for emergency basis for George to be able to use.
Is there
And
a second?
emergency, I mean like emergency, not we need a like projector and we decided to buy it out of that.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I
Okay, motion carried. All right, let's go ahead and talk about our applicants. And the first one is indeed the Convention Center. That is asking for 635,000. What I'd like to do is just go around and see if there are any questions, anything on the evaluation that you'd like to bring up to the other committee members, and then we will go ahead and vote after that.
I have a quick question, just on the form itself, the evaluation form. When it under the, I think it's number 8, when it says self-evaluation, well, I have 3 questions. It's all about the evaluation of metrics itself. So number 8 and number 11 and 12, I just want a clearer understanding of how we're supposed to rate that. So for instance, for self-evaluation, is that my own, like as a committee member, to rate the impact or effectiveness of what they're requesting?
No, the evaluation criteria came from the criteria in the application packet. So under self-evaluation, number 8 says, does the application provide an adequate method of evaluating the effects of the proposed project upon completion? How will the applicant do this? When you're looking at 11 and 12, 11 is likelihood of participation, and that is defined as how clearly does it appear that the proponent's share of the funds will be available when required, and degree of participation is what percentage of the project costs will the proponent pay for.
Got it.
So, and one of the things I am going to apologize for is that this was the first time we used such a detailed application form. In the past, it was only 1 page. And this was taken primarily from Westport's. And I did the evaluation form based on that. So as I was filling out the application forms, I realized that they were really very time consuming, and I did have to keep referring back to the application form. So I think one of the next things for the committee to do is to, after we make our decisions here and going into next year, is to look at that application form and see if we're requiring too much information, if we're requiring the right kind of information. And then look at our evaluation form and see how that has worked. So I think both of those are important going into next year. Sarah?
And I think, Mr. Kim, also something to be taken into account is that the LTAC committee has had a history of where the community doesn't know how much they're looking at the applications or how involved they are in them. And so this was just another also level of commitment by the LTAC committee to say, hey, we're looking at them, we're scoring them based on X, Y, and Z. I think that for them to be used specifically to award or not award was not the point. It was accountability for the LTAC committee itself too.
Makes sense.
Thank you for adding that, Sarah. We did want to make our evaluations more transparent than the public had perceived in the past. So let's go on to our first one, which is the Ocean Shores Convention Center. As I mentioned, they are asking for less this year, 635,000 as opposed to 690,000 last year. Are there any questions or things on your evaluation that you would like to bring up?
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, absolutely.
I think the convention center is a key venue for all of the large events that happen at Ocean Shores. And many of the events couldn't happen without it, and it just needs to be kept up and continue on in the manner it's doing now.
And I had a similar comment that overall the convention center brings in 93,000 attendees from the statistics that George provided, and 28 and almost 29,000 lodgers. That it's critical to our city in hosting events and marketing. So how do we feel about giving the convention center their 635,000?
Sorry, I have a quick question, if that's okay.
Of course, that's what this is, question and answer.
So I'm again, just in terms of just trying to be transparent, and while we're filling out this evaluation form, under the question of, previous LTAC funding, if yes, are they in compliance with past reporting? I admittedly, I'm just trying to understand, how we can confirm whether they have been in compliance with past reporting. So I try my best to really understand how that's being done. If maybe the folks here who have a little more tribal knowledge can share whether they have been, and what is it supposed to look like when they are or are not compliant with reporting.
Sarah, can you explain how the reporting goes to the finance office?
Sure. So specifically for the Ocean Shores Convention Center and LTAC monies in itself, once you go over a threshold of $200,000, you have to do what's called JLARC reporting. And so there's actually a submitted report that we have to do at a state level annually, and that is based on like how many tourists we received in Ocean Shores, an estimate, of course, how many overnights, and all of those have effectively been reported on time, and those actually get reviewed by the people that hold our bonds for the convention center, because we have to show that we're doing that reporting. So I can say with great certainty, since I started here, that we have done all of the reporting for the Ocean Shores Convention Center. I do recognize that we've never supplied that reporting to the just like the reporting for the other individuals where they'll do those summary reports. We've never done that for the LTAC committee, and we can absolutely do that going forward.
Awesome.
And that is something that I would like to add when we do a meeting schedule for next year. It has been really the common practice of other LTAC committees to have the applicants come and talk about the funding and how they're using it and how they're progressing on their project. Because some of the projects, of course, are not year round. There may be multiple times, but that is something that we have not had at the committee before. So we do plan to do that. Okay, are there any other questions or comments about the convention center?
I could just add that the convention center has been extremely crucial. I don't know how many reservations that my establishments have booked because of the convention center. So to me, this is a no-brainer.
Okay, well, we will go ahead and vote. George Lee will recuse himself on this. So can I have a motion to approve $635,000 for the convention center?
I'll make a motion to approve the $635,000 for the convention center.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I
Okay.
You're gonna collect these forms from after the meeting? Okay.
Yeah, Nicole will. Okay. The second request we have is from the Beachcombers and Glass Float Expo LTAC funding. For LTAC funding. They did request $7,500 last year, and they are requesting $8,500 this year. The advantage to this is that it is in a shoulder off season. It's a winter event with what I wrote, deep history, still building after COVID interruption. Are there any other comments or questions about this?
The only comment I would have for them if they're watching or participating is that I would like to see more float advertising, because I think that that actually brings people out to the beach to try and find them, and perhaps more partnering with the hotels so that the hotels could market to their guests via Facebook or whatever, that there's going to be releases on these dates or over this time period, and try and really partner with all of the hotels to get the word out more, to draw in more tourism from outside. You know, because I do see on Facebook like a lot of locals finding the floats, which is cool, but I'm not really wanting to pay $8,500 for locals to also find the floats. I mean, I'm not saying locals shouldn't, but I'm saying we need to really market to those from out of town to come and try and retrieve them.
And for what it's worth, in their final report, they did mention that there was about 800 paid accommodations. I mean, let's assuming like $100, room night. That's a pretty significant return on investment. So I'd say it's pretty much worth it just for the $8,500. So that's just my 2 cents.
Agree.
Okay, do we have an emotion?
I have a comment too.
Oh,
I looked at this thing and they're a consistent yearly festival since like 1985 was what they said. But I had a question on the capital expenses where they wanted to purchase glass floats. And on their list, it was something like, I want to say it was $8,000 on purchasing. And I think that funding, I think we should fund for the marketing and promotion parts of it, but not the glass float purchases. Well, I would recommend that we approve for a lesser amount, something like $4,500.
I disagree. I think that the floats are what are bringing people out, not the displays of collectible items on the beach.
I would agree with Shannon on that. As far as being around the convention center and in the convention center, I mean, that is what you hear from every attendee, is the excitement about looking for those floats. And so I think without those, it would hurt you then.
Okay.
okay, so is there? I'm sorry, I have to keep looking at those hands. Okay, yes, Sarah.
I appreciate where Daryl's coming from, and I think it goes back to what Mr. Williams has said and where the committee's kind of not paid attention to capital requests. I do believe that this was a misstep in where they put that funding, because I don't believe that falls under the same as a capital request for a improvement or a building structure or something like that.
To
Just
Sarah's, it's not like a copier or
yeah, I see where you're coming from, Daryl, where you automatically go to that capital request. I think that that might have been a mistake on their part of where they actually put that in their application. And I just want to say that on the record, because I don't think it meets the same lack of qualifications like building a garden would.
Okay, So may I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the Beachcomber Festival for $8,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Okay, the next one is approving the Coastal Interpretive Center funding.
I have some comments on that if you don't mind.
No, please go ahead. I actually have several comments on this one also.
So I've been around since about 2015, and I've been actively involved in the hospitality section of Ocean Shores since that time. So that's a good 10 years at this juncture. I've pretty much, prior to moving out of state full time a couple of years ago, attended almost all the city council meetings and LTAC meetings. For years, and this is not to their current executive director's issue, and I commend him for his trying to make this work. They have been for years, especially before COVID, told when Jeff Daniels was alive that they needed to become self-sufficient. Their asks every single year are more money. And last year, I think we awarded somewhere about $30,000 less than what they asked for. So I think we awarded $60,000.
Yeah, 60,000, yeah.
And I said the same thing last year. And then this year they came in asking for more money again. So with that being said, I fully think that this is a great thing for tourists to visit while they're here. I do not think, I mean, I have not had one guest ever tell me in the 9 years I've been with the Canterbury that they have booked just to come to the Coastal Interpretive Center. Now, we have recommended it, we have promoted it, we have encouraged it. But as far as putting an actual head in a bed just for that center, I feel like it's an ancillary tourist attraction similar to Playtime Family Fun Center or any of the others, but just with a more educational background. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. So with that being said, I am not comfortable approving anything more than $40,000, and I'm just going to say that on the record now.
Okay, does anyone else have comments? Because I have comments about the budget.
I will say that my figure came in right about where Shannon's was. Mine was at 50, obviously, but I just don't think that they actually put heads in beds. We promote them at the convention center also. The number of people that, oh, I didn't even know that was there. Well, you know, I know you can't market to everyone, but I just think they need to do something for themselves as far as their marketing goes and getting that together.
Okay, well, interesting, because my amount came in between the two of you. And I'll tell you why. They requested 98,921, and there's actually an error in that. If you add up of their budget request, they actually they made $1,000 error, and they were actually asking for 99,000. But I had a problem with the various categories that they were asking for. So in the facilities, they were asking for business registration, property tax, copier, alarm, utilities, and I crossed that out immediately. So that was taking $22,010 out of that, which brought the request down to 76,911. And then I looked at visitor services, and in visitor services, they were looking at merchandise sales and museum staff. And I did not think that that fell in with within the request. So when I took that 31,000 out, it was $31,099. That came out to 45,812. And then I added up the things that I did think would bring people in, and that was outreach, their collections. They're looking at, their section on, marketing and communications. And I think those are directly related to promotion. So when I took out facilities and visitor services and focused on outreach, collections, and their marketing, I came in 12. So, would
I
people
wasn't
be
that
comfortable with?
Also, I'm fine with your number. I would agree now that you've broken it down. I didn't go through their application that way, but I'm fine with that number.
I'm good.
Okay, can we have a motion then? To approve, 45,812.
I'll
make a
make a
motion. I make a motion to approve for the coastal interpretive center in the amount of 45,000.
And we'll just make it even.
Yeah.
Okay.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next is the Dark and Stormy Nights Film Festival. Comments on this one?
I just comment on it. I think that it's very innovative. I appreciate someone trying something new. I love the fact that it's in October. And I'm just going to encourage them to, again, please partner with all of the hotels. You know, I know on some of the applications, people listed like 1 or 2 hotels. There's like 14 or 15 in town. So the more you could go to, the better. And if you could sell any sort of packages, I encourage you to do that. And I will say, when we're selling packages, for those that don't know, if your ticket price is $10 and my hotel price is $50, I can't give a package for $60. We both have to have a little bit of give and take so that it's a perceived value to the guest. And so at least that's my philosophy, which others in town have not agreed with. Like, they're okay with me discounting my hotel room, but they don't want to discount their amenities. So, but I would encourage to try and do packages, because that gets the hotel to partner and to market your event for essentially free. So the more people you could be putting out and have put out about your event, the better it will be for you. And the more people that are offering a discount, the more competitive it is. I'm going to use Roanoke for an example. I got the listing of their who's offering them discounts right now. And while their preferred hotel is outside of Ocean Shores, and understandably so, based on what happened previously, the amount of discounts that are going on, it made me actually think, you know, do I need to up my discount? Because there are some pretty steep discounts. And so, you know, it makes hotels more competitive also, and it makes people kind of shop around. So the more you could do to partner with hotels, the better. And I just wanted to give them kudos for really trying to do something on the shoulder season. You know, it's great weather still, usually in October, and I really hope it's successful and that they market it really well.
Any other comments about Dark and Stormy?
I really like this application. I felt that this application was hands down, was the best application that we had received.
I totally agree. I wrote that down too. That it was a clear proposal. It filled all the evaluation criteria,
It's easy to read,
innovative.
and they had detailed marketing plan on how they're going to market to, where it is, how they're going to market to the submissions, which was a separate marketing plan on how they're going to market to the attendees. And it's very detailed. It's not like, oh, we're going to do some TV or magazine ads. They listed out where they're going to go, how much they're going to cost, and they've got some that they're going to pay for them. Some are just articles, and they're doing guerrilla marketing. It's an innovative event, and this could possibly turn into a huge yearly event for Ocean Shores. And I think this marketing plan, again, is an example of how every applicant should use as a guide. And I would even be in favor of approving them for a larger marketing amount. I mean, they're so very impressive.
Yeah, and hold that thought when we, when we look at, the applications for the future. Because I do think that their marketing plan is something that we should be requiring. Or at least something very similar to it for all of the applicants.
Yes.
Any other comments on dark and stormy? Okay, can we have a motion then to approve?
I'll make that motion to approve this dark and stormy night for their LTAC funding request of $10,000.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I
Aye. The next one, make sure I have my row here, is for the Grays Harbor Youth Athletics Golf Tournament. And they have requested $10,000. They also got a $10,000 previously.
I have a couple comments on it. When we first really started to drive home that you needed to quantify your heads and beds, this was the first organization that ever really listened to that. So I'm very appreciative of that. She definitely tries to go around and get the actual heads and beds. Now, has had difficulty with some of the hotels for whatever reason providing the information, which is silly to me, but she does try and get it. I'm not thrilled that it happens in the summer, but it is for kids, and that is a summertime thing, and golfing is definitely much better in the summer. My only comment, I have no issue with them out. My only comment to them is that I really feel like if they were to promote the players in advance and work with the hotels on like who's actually coming like way far in advance, maybe a couple months in advance, it would be easier for the hotels to try and sell also packages for the golf and the gala to out of towners to want to try and see these players. Just having like one or two names and then, you know, that it's roughly X amount of whatever players doesn't necessarily, it's not like Marshawn Lynch. Like if you threw out like very specific names way in advance, and you knew people were coming. And I know these are a lot of retired players and they do it for, you know, their the good of the community. But I just really feel like some of the promotion, if you knew who it was in advance more, the hotels could really also push that. So that's my only comment on that. And the fact that it goes to kids and is more of a charity is really important.
Any other comments?
I'd go back to the marketing plan. When I looked at the previous one where they had the marketing for the attendees and the marketing for the participants, you know, I'd like to see something like that in this one. Like what Shannon said, they come back every year. It's an honorable effort that they're doing to help youth, and I think that's really good. But boy, I'd sure like to see, because the marketing, in my opinion, on this LTAC a lot of it needs to be aimed for an applicant's marketing plan on how they're going to get people to either come here or attend, or even on having the students come to the football camp that they have at the end of the year. I don't know there's no indication of what their marketing is to get the kids there. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, how do we feel about the $10,000? Their full amount?
I actually am for it.
Okay, would you make a motion then, George?
Make a motion to approve the LTAC funding for the Grays Harbor Youth Athletics in the amount of, how much was it?
10,000.
10,000.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, number 10. Approving the Master Gardener's Garden Tour. Any comments?
I will start. I actually marked it as a deny. I don't think it brings that much value to Ocean Shores as far as tourism goes. I don't know if maybe somebody can change my mind on that, but
I looked at their application and my note says the overall impression that I had is they're asking for $4,500. And that's basically their marketing budget total. So they're not asking for anything else except for marketing. I mean, they are asking for other things.
It's if I recall correctly, I don't have their application in front of me. It's a summertime event. You'd have to, on an average rate of $200 a night to get your money back, they'd have to book 23 rooms almost. I don't think they're booking 23 rooms. To me, again, it's not an off-season event. I think it would be a huge stretch to say that they're booking any rooms for this event, maybe 1 or 2, maybe, but definitely not 23.
Yeah, just to respond, Shannon, what they have on the application is 20 paid overnight lodging nights, I assume. So this is where I was sort of like in between like a yes or a no, they could basically kind of break even. I also don't have the history or travel knowledge on this. I think this is the first this is a this is the second time or third time that they're applying. And I don't have the track record to understand what the trajectory is of this type of event. So I'm a little indifferent on this one.
Well, I don't think they've ever applied before. Sarah could correct me if I'm wrong, but in my realm, it's similar to a home show. It's something that I might go and attend because I'm local. But I think the room nights, I was using a $200 ADR in the summer. I just think it's a stretch. And so I had, like George, put denied on here also.
And to confirm what Shannon said, this was a first-time application.
They did say in their application that they had been in Ocean Shores. The last time was in 2019. And they've done 4 events here. So, but it wasn't LTAC funded, obviously.
Any other? I actually did say approve for a lesser amount. But I like Eugene, I was really on the line with this. I couldn't decide whether it was approve or not approve. Because I even wrote down not heads and beds, but a loyal following to bring into Ocean Shores for a full day.
What was
So,
the dollar amount you were interested in approving for?
I had, let's see, how much, I did not write what they asked for here.
They asked for
4,500. And I think, let me see where I came up with my number. Oh, they were asking for approximately 60% of their budget. And
4,500 was a marketing.
right,
Other activities, 2,000, and total was 6,500.
right.
Well, if you use the number of maybe if they're bringing in people that spend $30 a day in Ocean Shores and they, I mean, I have a hard time with anything over $2,000.
And I'm fine if the group wants to deny it. Like I said, I was really on the border with this. What's the general feel? Because I do think, whatever they say, given that, that they did say that a few people came in from outside the area, but mostly these garden tours are local.
Well, they did project, I think, 450 ticket sales.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a lot in, as far as the events goes, or.
I don't know.
$2,000, Shan, and Eugene, what would that take as far as rooms to make up for the 2,000? Would that be a?
10 about in the summer.
Yeah, roughly.
But I'm not looking at, you could not convince me that they'd even book 10 rooms. I was looking at this as for, maybe they're gonna go eat at Bennett's or they're gonna go eat at a different place. I absolutely can't justify it based on a head in bed, but I would entertain Denise is where I think she might have been going with it as they would be spending perhaps money in Ocean Shores in the general marketplace.
Yeah, and that's where I was figuring that if they're going to be here for the whole day and they're visiting 6 gardens, that they're gonna have to eat at least, and they might visit something else while they were here. But like I said, I'm really on the fence on this one.
They
So
did
if
mention.
you did 1,500 and you divided it by 50 people, that's like a $30 spend in Ocean Shores. So, I mean, I think that's reasonable.
Just a quick
Yeah.
comment to what Shannon, in terms of like maybe their impact on like restaurants. They did say that they sell tickets at the Galway Babe gift store and promote with posters and banners in Ocean Shores and their businesses. So it's just hard to evaluate when the threshold for like high ROI or low ROI or no ROI at all is sort of in play here. So I would be supportive of a lesser amount. I'm just having a hard time figuring out what that amount is, whether it's 1,500, 2,000, or somewhere in between, or something else.
Well, I'm comfortable with the, let's see. I mean, here they have yeah, 4,500. I don't know, seems. I'm comfortable with 1,500 if other people are.
I am. I think the $1,500 for marketing, for reimbursement for marketing.
Outside of, I mean, it would be really nice to be like outside of Grays Harbor, trying to get people from Olympia to come for the day.
They're doing interviews on the radio stations and locals media. But if we're gonna give them money, I think they should be buying it in. I see the seniors sunset and master gardeners events and things that they could advertise in.
Okay, well, can I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion then to approve the master gardeners garden tour for $2,500 for marketing purposes.
2,500?
That was
Yeah.
15.
Oh, 15, sorry, 15. Yep.
I'll approve it. I'll second 1,500.
Okay, all in favor?
I
Okay. Order here. The next one is the Master Gardeners Dig Shores project. And I will just start with that one. because, my comments are the build phases, 1 to 4 are necessary before the $8,000 is needed for tourism promotion. The remaining 22,000 is for capital expenditures for creating, building the garden, which fall outside the allowable funding of LTAC and must be denied.
I'd agree.
Me too.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. It could be a destination thing, but at this point,
I agree too, that it's a great thing.
yeah, it's got a lot of merit to it, but the part that we need to, I think, look on, again, it goes back to my opinion about marketing. And there's nothing to market now that supplies.
Okay, and I would like to comment on what Don Williams said, because I have had discussions with the city as to where a project qualifies or not. And what we talked about was that it was really not the responsibility of the city clerk to do that it was the responsibility of the LTAC committee, because everybody on the LTAC committee has received the RCW and the MRSC interpretation of that. So we felt it was really the responsibility of the committee to decide whether something fell within usable, allowable LTAC funds or not. So that is a deny.
Are you gonna make a motion to deny?
I'll
Oh,
make to deny.
yes,
Second.
all in favor.
Aye.
Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next one is the North Beach Artists Guild, Art in Action.
I had some comments on that if I could go.
Yes, please.
So I thought that their presentation was really confusing if you compared their presentation to their application.
They
I
don't
was reading
match.
the application, I thought that it was going to be a year-round thing, but when they presented, they were really intent on focusing on 3 weekends, 2 of which fell in the summer months. There was some comments about like, well, if we don't use the money here, we'll just move it over here. I was uncomfortable with the summer weekends yet again. I don't think that anyone is really going to book to come to an artist workshop, even if it's free over the weekend in Ocean Shores necessarily. And so I'm okay with, I think they were asking for 12,500. You consider there's actually only 3 weekend events that would be funding based on their presentation. That makes the October 3rd and 4th workshop 4,166.67. I'm okay with any portion up to that. I'm not okay with any portion over that, and that's just my 2 cents on this thing. And I had the application, had we not asked them to come in to discuss it, I would have blindly thought that this was going to happen all year round, including mostly which would be beneficial in October, November, December, January, February, March. But really it was 2 weekends in the summer and October, the very beginning of October. So I think that also lends validity to why we ask questions, because I had blindly voted on this. I would have been voting on something that I clearly didn't understand the application on.
Any other comments?
I would be okay with Shannon's figure on the October event only.
Yeah, and what was your figure on that, Shannon?
It was, I just took the 12,500 and divided it by 3, which makes it 4,166.67. If you want to round up to 4,200, I'm fine with that. I was just looking at what each weekend was what value they had for each weekend.
So I have a quick comment. I would generally agree with Shannon on this, but given that I was just going over their visitor count, that I think it's towards the end of the, well, it's multiple pages actually of
Right.
yeah, and it's I mean they do provide some it does attract, right? So it's just a matter of, is it worth it? It's hard to really say. That's where I'm sort of inclined to approve their full amount, but I can also understand um, the notion of just approving just the October one. I'm just thinking in terms of guest attraction and what they could do in Ocean Shores. Are they able to do this even without the funding? Maybe. Um, it's hard to say,
Well,
but
they said they've already been doing it without funding for
true.
years, and
Yeah,
so
that's very, very
that
true.
was my thing is if you're, gonna ask for funding, I need it to really be for um something off season. And you weren't around, but there was a very popular thing that was almost I forget the name of it, but it was every Labor Day weekend. And I had a real issue with it being on Labor Day weekend because we already had tourists here, right? So I mean it's again, it's more like the Coastal Interpretive Center where it's ancillary and it's um something that they could do while they're here, but I don't know that they're necessarily gonna book for it. It's not like the Corgi Beach Party where you have these dog lovers that are gonna book. So it's a way different thing in my head.
No, it makes sense. I just thought I'd make a call out, but yeah, I also agree with your standpoint of just funding for October only.
And I actually came up with a lesser amount. I looked at it and I did it a little bit differently from Shannon, assuming that they were still going to do their 3 workshops. But I came up with a 3,800. And my 3,800 was based on the 3,000 that they asked for marketing and the 800 that they asked for hospitality and visitor kits.
Totally fine with that number as well.
I looked at it real similar to you, because I came up with a $3,000 for marketing. And I looked at the performance tracking at 500. And so I came up with 3,500. But hospitality kits are probably appropriate too.
I guess just a quick comment on that. If we're just taking, I'm assuming you're looking at the very last page where their estimated cost is 3,000 for marketing promotion and
Yeah,
yeah, 800 for the kits. That I would assume that's for 3 events, right? So shouldn't it be a third of that? But I mean, I'm not. I'm actually more aligned with Shannon's original way of thinking of what was their total cost across 3 events and divide by 3. But I'm just nitpicking at this point.
well, I'm fine with the 4,200 if that works. When I was looking at that page that you're looking at, Eugene, the things like, well, we already, when they talked about temporary signage, lighting upgrades, display material, we decided that was obviously not eligible. And then I think it was either George or Daryl asked them, they said staff time for planning, even though they told us that they were all volunteers. So
Yeah.
that was not eligible. It seemed to me that they're doing the performance tracking, so I'm fine with the 42. The 4,200 based on funding their one event.
I'll make a motion to approve $4,200 for the North Beach Artists Guild October specifically event.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Okay, and the next one is North Beach TV. Does anyone have any questions on this? Or comments?
I have a couple comments. I think what they're doing is admirable, trying to get more streaming out there. I think everyone knows that they're using streaming devices more and more these days. My only comments about it is that I really think that it should be, the content is really important. So, quite honestly, I don't want to be paying to stream city council meetings and meetings like this, because I don't think a tourist even cares about any of this. But streaming content that a tourist cares about, like the Razor Clam Festival is coming up and things like that, I think that's really important. And so that is my one comment on this, is I really think like the streaming is important. However, it's really important of what the content is. And I remember there was like a few LTAC meetings ago, and it was not when George was in charge. There was something wanted for the convention center. It was a piece of technology, and I want to say it was like $10,000. And we were essentially lied to and said that this group was requesting it. But what really was true was they didn't even rebook that year, and it was something that the city council used. And so, you know, I think there's a fine line on this kind of stuff, because the city does use North Beach Community TV so much. And my only comments again are that I really think that if we're going to be paying for streaming and to be assisting them in getting exposure of Ocean Shores out there, that the content of what we're exposing needs to be really directive to marketing. And I don't know anyone else's thoughts or comments, but that was mine on it.
Any other comments?
You know, mine would be is, I've watched North Beach TV. It's like night and day now with the things that they're doing. And I put down approved for the 20,000. You know, I depended on, like I said, obviously we would like to get the promotions for festivals and all the different events and stuff like that. But I wouldn't say I would approve of this one.
Okay. Yeah, and I wrote not an event, but that the reach of North Beach TV, and I do I don't watch it all the time, but I would say I do watch it regularly. Every time I watch TV, I always click on to see what's there. And I know that the city has been developing more content. And there's no other way that we can reach people 7x24. And I know there's a lot of night owls in town, including myself. And I have noticed that the marketing of events, as well as the commercials, is giving us already high exposure. And I do think that with everybody streaming now, that they really do need to expand beyond Roku. And any other comments? Okay, Daryl, you will need to recuse yourself from this one.
Voting in this.
Do we have a motion for an amount?
I'll make
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the $20,000 they're requesting for the streaming. And I would again like to ask that we really use good content and encourage Daryl to, once it's up and proven that it's streaming on all these different platforms, to really try and work with hotels specifically to maybe, and also restaurants and whatever, because maybe there could be 10-second or 30-second spots where you could be advertising specials and reasons to come to Ocean Shores besides all of the wonderful activities.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
I
Okay, the next one is number 14. We're moving right along. So thank you to everybody for doing your homework and going back and looking at the applications in detail and really thinking about it. It's important for the committee and also important for the people who have applied to know that we have done our homework and really looked into each application seriously. The next is North Beach Independent Media. And they are, they had received $10,000 last year. Their event has not yet occurred, since it will occur on New Year's Eve. And they are asking for $25,000 this year. So comments on North Beach Independent Media?
I have some comments. This is an all volunteer organization. They're trying very hard to make money for their organization, which they in turn donate money back to the radio station. So it's basically a fundraiser for the radio station. It's also becoming a yearly event in Ocean Shores on a dead of winter when sunset is before 5 p.m. And they're asking for $25,000. The marketing part is $10,000. I kind of looked at that. I've been focusing on that. They're obviously going to rent the convention center. They're getting food and drink. They do a bunch of stuff. The bands, I personally don't know if a band would attract people to come here on New Year's Eve, or the fact that it's just New Year's Eve and there's getting to be a reputation that's a fun place to be with good food and seeing other people. And it's not just locals, but it's people from out of town that come in. And when they come here, I think that they would have a higher percentage of room nights for anybody that came from out of town. So I'm in favor of their application. I'm not sure if it should be the full amount or not. I would like to hear what other people have to say about that.
I had it down as approved for the full amount, and because of the marketing alone, I think a band actually will, depending on their marketing and who they market to. I've seen it now for I haven't seen it this year yet, but the first year that they did it, they were given more funds, I believe. I think they were reduced last year. And I think we handicapped them this year. So I'd just like to warn that, because they probably did cut quite a bit into their marketing budget, that if they not have as many people this year from out of the area. So just be aware of that for this year, because, I think they need the full $25,000.
I'm not in a disagreement with George. I think their $10,000 for marketing needs to actually be increased, and they probably need to shift their numbers a little. And again, back to partnering with all the hotels in town, the more that you could tell the hotels that this is the band we have coming in, this is the incredible menu that George has put out, and this is what you're getting for this. I can't speak for other hotels, but when someone comes to me and tells me this is what we're doing, then I go out on Facebook and, sometimes if I really like the event, I'll even pay for an ad to reach people myself, because it books hotel rooms for me. So I think it's a good event. I had someone who attended previously that I sent to attend just to see the first year. And I thought that it was, the feedback I got was that it was a good event. So I just think that they need to market a little bit more outside of Grace Harbor and really try and focus on what kind of entertainment they're providing to make someone want to make that drive during the winter and come to Ocean Shores for New Year's Eve. So I'm fine with the full amount.
I have a quick question. Maybe this is a topic for another time, but it seems to be a common thread where if, X whoever could just work with, Y businesses within Ocean Shores, things would be a lot better. I'm not sure if there's an avenue or a mechanism to provide the contact information or what have you, nor is it probably on our end to do something. I don't know, but I completely agree with Shannon that if a lot of these event coordinators would work directly with the establishments in Ocean Shores, I mean, there could be a lot of partnerships for sure. So that would drive more visitors, room nights, money, meals, etc. So I couldn't agree more with Shannon.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I think Sarah has her hand up. I'm not sure if she.
She does. Every time I look down, your hand goes up,
Sorry.
Sarah, so
I
I
know.
don't see your little yellow hand.
It's because I say too many things. That would be, so a part of this has been we want to do it under the reimbursement program. And I think that we could really, and Denise, similar to when you were on the library board of trustees, these reimbursements can be done on the approval of the LTAC committee, not just because they submitted something. So I don't know that it can't be where once we have presented it to the LTAC committee for approval, is this actually going to what the LTAC committee intended it for the marketing piece? Because I know all of you have discussed in length, it should go to I-5 corridor or tourism related, not to just only local places. And that could be, and that will have to be the meeting after this, how we handle those reimbursements. That could be a part of that criteria, I would think.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
So as an example, they would have to show like specific marketing dollar amounts outside of Grays Harbor. Is that kind of what you're?
Well, I think that what you would see from them is if they were asking for a reimbursement for a radio ad or a billboard or something like that, what's the location of that radio ad? What's the location of that billboard? Which is why the city, in truth, just for historical value, has asked to do this reimbursement, because how it was in the past is the LTAC committee would recommend, the council would approve, and then the finance department was just responsible for cutting an overall check. And it's like, how do we, of the public funds, responsible for public funds, see that this money is going to where it is? We would find out afterwards on a summary report. Whereas if we do this reimbursement program, those reimbursements are approved based on the LTAC approving them, and you would get to look into those. And if you needed to ask more questions or what have you, then you could. And this is all information we would need to, finalize prior to us doing any of these reimbursements in 2026. But definitely the next meeting that needs to be had after this portion is, how do we do those reimbursements and what do they look like?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember that one of the reasons that we also wanted to go to reimbursement was because there was one year during COVID in particular where we funded events that did not happen and they got the money, and I do not recall it ever being returned.
It didn't get returned. I know that there was 2 events and then they ended up doing them in 22, maybe, but this was definitely our kind of coverage. And then we have some things also written by the city attorney that go into the tourism promotional agreement that everybody's required to sign prior to them even getting a reimbursement. But exactly, another coverage on how we're supposed to handle, governmental funds.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have a motion and an amount for North Beach Independent Media?
I'll make a motion to approve the 25,000 for North Beach Independent Media, and I'd like to request that they consider adjusting their advertising budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, request number 15, approving the Ocean Shores Food Bank, the Corgi Beach Party.
So I have some comments on this. It obviously is not in the shoulder season. However, anything to do with pets, people will book hotel rooms for regardless of season. And, obviously the pet friendly hotels are going to obviously benefit more than ones that are not pet friendly. But they did do this event themselves this year. They didn't ask for any money from anyone to put on the event. And I know for a fact that we got hotel bookings off of it because we offered them a discount. Just like everyone else, I would encourage them to partner with all of the hotels, not just some of them. But anything to do with a dog, especially specific breeds like corgis, labradoodles, and all these like specialty breeds, people go crazy for. And there were tons and tons of pictures of these little corgis all over the beach on social media. I saw many of them. It was on I even saw one on TikTok. So I am for this event, and it's a minimal dollar amount. It's $5,050 if I recall correctly, which is roughly 25 room nights. And I don't think you're going to have a problem getting 25 people with their little corgis to book a hotel room.
Yeah, any sort of special event like this where it can increase exposure, I think it's phenomenal. So I would totally agree with what Shannon's saying.
Good with this one.
I think this has the potential to be a successful ongoing event that could be a real plus to this community. I was really impressed with the idea. It's a unique concept and I really like it. And one final thing is the amount they're requesting is 5,050, which is their entire marketing budget, which again, that just rung a bell with me. I like that.
I like it too. Despite having a different long-bodied dog, I am definitely in favor of this one. Yeah, it's innovative and very successful for the first year. Okay, can we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the corgi event for $5,050 for their event.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, two more to go. The next is for the Hospitality, Ocean Shores Hospitality Collaborative.
I'd like to speak on this for a minute if I can.
Yes, please, Shannon.
I'm going to recuse myself from voting on this. With due respect, Lauren works for me. I want to make it abundantly clear to the board and anyone listening. I did not encourage her to do this. I had no prior knowledge of this being done. I'm not in agreement with Dawn. I mean, I know that I think there's a gray area for legal interpretation on this one. I don't think that you can, first of all, it's not a trade school. She's not trying to establish a school. What workers did was they got together, and I'd like to point out they're workers. They're not owners. They're not managers. And I don't even believe that some of them are supervisors. They're frontline workers that formed a board to try and promote tourism in Ocean Shores because they see some really horrific customer service, some really bad standards, and they're trying to come up with a way to get people access to things they don't know. There's been a lot of commentary about how, well, you could just go do this yourself. Not every employer is as proactive as I am. They're not going to go and register with the Washington Hospitality Association and figure out what benefits they have. Some people are just running hotels and don't know the first thing about hotel management. I'm just being blunt. I've watched it for 10 years in Ocean Shores. Everyone is like, oh, there's a particular hotel in town that is just awful. It's been closed down. It's dilapidated. It's whatever. And then people are like, oh, I feel so bad for those employees. People have choices. You have a choice to go work there. You have a choice not to work there. You have to put food on your table. Empowering people to have better skill set to be able to provide better customer service. I don't think you could put a measurable amount on. I want to commend Lauren for actually putting out there that they would be billing for a salary. I guarantee you that there's other applications that we've seen where the salaries are buried into a different number. I could almost guarantee it. They were at least transparent about the fact that they were a group of workers that did not want to do this for free. So for anyone to fault them on that, I think is negligent on our part. I think that customer service training is highly needed. When I came to the Canterbury, we were built in 1966. We have a very clear aesthetic that cannot be changed, and our general ownership is in their 70s and 80s. We are never going to be the newest and nicest hotel, but what we can do is be the cleanest and the friendliest, and that's what we strive for because those are our controllable measures. So I think having this sort of training is actually really important. Having, you know, the ability to go out to struggling businesses because we don't have a chamber and we don't have a Main Street Association is really important. I'm not going to vote on this, but I would like to make the suggestion that if you all don't think the dollar amount is appropriate or you think there's a gray area, you know, maybe looking at a pilot program where one hotel and one restaurant is picked so we could see if it even works, or maybe asking her to come back with something that's tangible the next time, like individualized marketing for plans for the struggling businesses or whatever that would then quantify it so Dawn liked it or we felt it wasn't in a gray area. But I do think that there is considerable value to this when you look at the reviews online, and it's not just hotels, it is restaurants, it is businesses. Everyone struggles, and I think that in the summertime people take for granted the fact that there's hand over fist tourists in town and you're selling 1 million burgers, but are you really selling them with great customer service? Are you really selling them where people want to come back to Ocean Shores? And if you were, how many more repeat visitors would you be getting? I'm not saying that every business isn't. I'm just saying that there are a lot because we hear it when we make recommendations. We hand out a list right now, just so everyone's clear, on restaurants in town. And my staff has been explicitly instructed to not recommend any of them. You could say, these are the restaurants in town that serve breakfast, whatever. But I ask that they do not recommend them for a very specific reason. If you go to that restaurant and you've driven for 5 hours and then you have bad service, if you come into my room, you're going to nitpick anything you could possibly find after you have bad service. So just service is very subjectable in the summertime in Ocean Shores. Again, I'm not trying to dig on any business. We all try really hard, and there's some businesses that knock it out of the park, and there's some that really struggle. But I really want to commend them for trying to come up with something that was more inclusive, because what I think they did is they looked at another application of what was supposed to be marketing Ocean Shores and saw that it wasn't inclusive. And that's my comments on that one.
Any other comments on it?
You know, I would like to say that I think this program, our intent is great. I think I mentioned that in our first meeting. I mean, I think it's the hospitality industry needs the help. But I did write down here that I think it should be brought back with maybe a smaller pilot program, something to show us how effective it's going to be moving forward. So at this point, I would say I would encourage that they bring it back.
my thought is, I think I asked her the question of how we can measure the success of this program, and I don't think I got the best answer. I think Shani might have helped a little bit with, increase ADR with respect with which is average daily rate for hoteliers. I'm not sure how we, um, again, like I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that's a direct benefit. Um, it's just hard to say. And I've, for me personally, at the Comfort, I've been lucky to have really great team. Most of my staff members have been there for years, which is great because turnover is hard. It costs business more to retrain and all that. So I guess maybe perhaps some of the common threads between me and Shannon, especially the way we run business, is that we train our people right, and all is good. But what does that mean for others, right? And I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of and I understand that this is not coming from from the owners, but for the employees themselves to self train, elect to do this and train themselves and all that. But I don't. It's hard to say without really trying. I'm okay. If it was for the $150,000, which is a substantial amount, I would say no. But if it was for like a pilot program, I would like to know exactly how we would do that, how much, what are the metrics to sort of prove and etc. So I'm more in line with that thinking than perhaps straight up projecting. But yeah, those are my 2 cents on this matter.
I have a question for Sarah. Sarah, would it be possible if we asked that she come back if there's an opening? Because I feel like there might be a surplus where there is an opening to come back. Is it possible to get legal guidance maybe as to if it would be within the realm, and what would we need to measure it? Because to Eugene's point, it is something that's very difficult to measure. I mean, you essentially would have to take a struggling business that's willing to do it and go through this program and see how their reviews changed and maybe if they were able to increase their business levels, which so I don't know, in fairness, that's a very easy answer to answer, or if there needs to be a component like, no, it absolutely doesn't qualify, but if they were providing mentorship on marketing strategies, like not only hospitality training and gold standard training, but also marketing strategies to promote your establishment, if that would qualify. I guess there's, I think that in good faith, it would be hard for anyone to answer, Don's made a point. I don't agree with his point, but there's legal guidelines. So, and it's subjective to who's interpreting them.
So the blessing of LTAC is the whole system's gray. And so MRSC does tons and tons and tons of classes and dissertations about it. And so we can pose very pointed questions to them, and then we have our legal attorney follow up because that's how they sign off everything. In the event that we do a surplus between now and then, those questions can be asked that would give the applicant and the committee itself better guidelines to follow and how it would be most appropriate for LTAC funding.
Any other?
I have a quick question, and maybe Shannon, you might know a little bit more, but is Lauren the person to like lead these discussions with this potential? So like under the assumption that we run like a pilot with a hotel or a restaurant, would Lauren be the person like training the employees? And maybe you don't know the answer, but I guess
I don't know the answer. I know it was her, Lorraine, and I believe
Alice.
Alice. And they all work in hospitality. 2 of them work for me, so that's again why I'm going to recuse myself. I think they would probably have to arrange with the business, to do this and to try it out, and and again, I really felt like they were trying to be more inclusive. And so I don't think it was just about hotels, but also working with restaurants or like shops. So, you know, I would hate to say like, oh, it just needs to be one hotel, because again, I really think that like the happier an overall experience in Ocean Shores is, whether it's at like an arcade or a shop or whatever, the better overall experience it is. So I think that they would have to come up with that as to, you know, who, and then, you know, I mean, I could hear the grumbling now, like, oh, I got selected, but they didn't. But I mean, in fairness, if you're going to do a pilot program, I think you just need to understand that there's like, I don't know, maybe you draw out of a hat, whoever's like interested or whatever, but it's just throwing that out there for fairness. But I do think if you read I think something is desperately needed. I'm going to use an example. It's obtainable via public record. So I wrote an email this morning. I checked our rates today. Westport is pulling in higher rates than we are, and the Best Western is like in Aberdeen is at $152 a night. I am selling rooms right now for $60 a night, and I cannot get rid of them. And I guarantee they're nicer and cleaner than some of those. And so I just really feel like we need to do something to start changing the reputation of the town.
I see. Yeah, I'm still on the conservative end. I'm not, and I think, you know, great training and all that is good. But then when you start opening up the business to, you know, like how much they've improved, and I'm not sure like what metrics would have to be involved in sharing and, you know, providing more information. Again, it just gets really into the weeds. So I guess from like a business ownership standpoint, like would I participate? And you know, I'm a little skeptical, but you know, maybe through the pilot program I could be proven wrong, you know, so that's why I'm not saying it's a complete no. But and also like if we were to, you know, use this funding for something else, like, you know, improving the amenities within Ocean Shores and you know, procuring more events, like I would be more in favor of that. And you know, I think the money will come, which will, you know, hopefully motivate owners to, you know, really focus on, you know, the quality of work. But again, I'm more than happy to be proven wrong on this, but that's just, yeah, again, my 2 cents.
Well, do you have a comment?
I do. They're asking for $150,000. It seemed to me that a lot of it was business 101, food handlers permit, and there's only 12 classes of 3 hours each. I was very impressed though that Lauren is on the Grays Harbor College Hospitality Board on that program, because I had asked about classes at Grays Harbor, because they've got them there. They've also got some online stuff through Peninsula College. 2 of the 3 applicants are themselves certified in this program. So that was they're walking the walk. So that's they believe in that. Washington State University has a hotel and motel program that includes the differences between hotels and motels and cruise ships, on the way that the hospitality is organized on cruise ships, and the differences. They've got courses on retirement homes where that you're at the same place all the time, and how do you provide good customer service there. I would have liked to have seen something like a scholarship program for people here to attend some of those classes, that the classes be offered remotely to the people here. But then I was advised that that might be the gifting of government funds. So that probably takes that away. So it kind of leaves us down to these classes. Now, I'm not sure if the classes are being redesigned or being created. I didn't recall if that was in there, or these classes that they're off the shelf classes that they're enhancing. So I don't think it's not a bad idea. I think it's a good thing to get customer service. But then one of my notes I put down here, I don't know if Seaside, Oregon has, when I go to the hotel or the restaurants there, are the people there, are they trained? You know, I don't know. So it's like, again, it's like the advertising stuff. What do you get tangible? There's nothing tangible in this stuff other than better service, and what the result of that would be.
Well, the first thing, and I did put a deny. I think that the program is great. I applaud Lauren for for putting the proposal together. But I also have there's 2 issues. One is that, as you heard when she was here, she is not a 501c3 yet. And based on our LTAC guidelines, we cannot fund someone who is not a 501c3. The second is, I understand that training can eventually contribute to tourism and is necessary. I think Shannon has made the point. The Ocean Shore City Council has passed an ordinance related to hotels because of the problems. And it's critical to the convention center. It's critical to our city to improve the hotels. But right now in the proposal, I see kind of an indirect relationship. I really like the idea of doing some kind of pilot program and a pilot program with real metrics and measures of success. I don't know what those measures would be, but I think we need something other than whether someone has better reviews or not, because it depends on whether their people will be online in order to do a review. So at this point, I think we should really encourage her to come back. But unless we can do a funding for someone dependent on a 501c3, we actually cannot approve this at this point. Does that?
Then I think we should a motion to deny it, but encourage them to come back if that's the board's feeling on it. And maybe, I'm sure that they would be listening to this to take that feedback and to refine it a little bit more, maybe scale it down so it's not as big of an ask.
Quick question. When we say come back, is that to request for funding still for 2026, or is this for the following year?
It's typically like in the, Sarah could to speak on the timeline, but usually mid 2026, if there's a surplus, they reopen it up.
I see. Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Okay, we need a motion to deny.
I'll make that motion to deny the Ocean Shores Hospitality Collaborative request.
I'll second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Almost done, folks. Thanks for everybody's patience on this committee. I know we have had long meetings. The last one is for the Ocean Shores marketing.
Can I speak on this one?
Yes, and let me just say they are asking for this year for $245,019. And in the past, and Sarah, you can correct me on this, but I believe over the past few years, they have received about $500,000.
In one, they received 70,000 and another 80,000. The last one was 200,000. And then this one is a request for 245,000.
Okay.
So over 300,000.
Okay.
So I have on here, well, first of all, let me preface in saying this. I think this is an incredibly hard spot to be in. Everyone wants to work collaboratively with people. Everyone who is on this board is someone that I do business with in one manner or another. So what I am saying, I certainly hope I will not get retaliation for. I mean, because I'll use this as an example. The Canterbury has had a account at Buck for years and years, and I would hate to see this go away based on my stance on this, but I'm going to make this stance. On social media, it has been very clear that the community had a lot of questions about what they were doing with this money, where it was going, and about self-promotion. I live states away, and I was well aware of this concern that I had seen posts on, that I knew was looming in the community. I had been contacted about it. I contacted them directly, asked them to be very cognizant of self-promotion. And I don't feel like what I was trying to warn of was even considered or listened to because it continued. I felt like during their presentation, they were extremely hostile to the board and to the concerned citizens in their, like, I have to say as a board member that I'm getting people that are very concerned about self-promotion. And what I don't expect is someone to be hostile back to me about it because it just puts me on the defensive. I know that they were all volunteers. Everyone did the best that they could. I'm not trying to take away anything from the efforts. I think we tried it. And I think we could successfully say we didn't get a great ROI on our money. At least I don't feel we did. And I can't in good faith. So I've heard, well, it's tourist dollars. It doesn't matter because it's tourist dollars and you're collecting it anyways. And some marketing is better than none. That is absolutely not true if you're self-promoting. And I say self-promoting because, again, I brought up during our meeting that there was 3 businesses at the top of a banner on the restaurant page. And we were literally told something to the effect of, well, that's because those businesses just happened to be the ones that supplied pictures and whatever. So while we were on that meeting, I went to see who else supplied pictures, and Copalis Cove had supplied pictures and they were 21 spots down. So that logic didn't make sense to me because if Copalis Cove, if it was based on supplying pictures and that sort of thing, then Copalis Cove should not have been 21 spots down. It should have been up with the others. So again, I sincerely thank them for their efforts. I sincerely know that they all tried. I don't want to take anything away from it, but I think there's too much community distrust to award that kind of money to them. And I think it would be better served, and I hope that they were very sincere in their intent, that they would return or they would turn over the materials to the convention center or to the city. I hope that they were 100% sincere on that because this meeting was recorded and that was said. And I think it would be better just for the convention center to try and maybe ask for more money or however that works to try and have like a marketing. That way, the city is responsible for it and it's not an organization of volunteers. You're self-promoting. There's no allusion to that because even if it's tourist dollars we're collecting, there's people within our community who are looking at it. And whether it's their dollars or not, they support all these businesses in the off season and I don't feel like it was my duty as a board member to investigate how they were spending their money and what they were doing and what they weren't doing. I think there was enough questions in the community that they should have been more than forthcoming out there, holding meetings, doing town halls, doing whatever they needed to do to ease the community of we're doing our best. Had that happened, I would have been totally okay with trying to fund some of the money. But just to say like, well, we drove around to the businesses and they just didn't contact us. Like Ocean Shores is a 7-mile peninsula. It's really not that hard. I know everyone's busy and it's a volunteer. I know some of the things that they said I didn't necessarily get. And I guess like Eugene, there is the offside chance that perhaps someone else received it and I didn't get it. But at the same token, every one of those people knows how to get a hold of me via text and email. So if I'm not responding or I'm not participating, then there's no reason not to reach out to me. Now, maybe some of the other businesses are different. I'm not making this about us. I'm just providing commentary for the board as to where I stand with my decision. I cannot approve this in any dollar amount. So that's my comments.
Okay, are there any other comments at this point?
I've got some.
Okay,
I asked them if we could give, one of the things that Shannon mentioned was the assets and the stock footage. So I asked for that over the weekend and they had said at the meeting last week that there was all the stock footage is available to all businesses. And so the reason I ask that is we play a national anthem every morning at 7. And on the national anthem, we have scenes of Ocean Shore. So you don't see the Golden Gate Bridge, or you don't see the Statue of Liberty. It's just nothing but here, deer and the stuff. So what they gave me, and they had just posted it on YouTube, was I think 6 or 7 edited pieces. There was the Ocean Shores boat parade that the yacht club put on, and there was some clam digging sequence and some other stuff. But there wasn't a lot of stuff that I could pull out of there, those 6 shows, that was clean, that I could put on make a national anthem. So I said, no, I wanted to get camera footage. And they said, oh, so that hasn't been given yet. So I don't know if what they thought was footage was the commercials and the pieces that they made with this Aussie girl person. So I was disappointed in that. Their marketing is pretty narrow on KCPQ. So it's pretty much just that channel and the programs on there. And that's not bad, but you really need to broaden the horizon out. And I know that Comcast offers selected markets and a wide variety of cable channels in all of their markets, and internet ads. So if you get your internet, if you don't even get cable from Comcast, if you get your internet from Comcast, the biggest cable provider, your ad could be on your internet searches and things. So it pops those ads up. And the same thing with the selected markets. Through Comcast, you can buy just Bremerton, you could buy the I-5 corridor, you can buy just Ocean Shores, because they sell the advertising for Ocean Shores, and that's on all of the cable channels. So you would get CNN, you would get ESPN, you would get a number of pretty specialized and popular channels at a reasonable price. So I was kind of disappointed in their targeted marketing. I also did a search on their application. They mentioned Master Plan Media, and it's led by Dan Redwine and Matt Chapp. So I looked up through the Washington Secretary of State for Master Plan Media LLC. And that's Dan Redwine, spelled the same, at 1209 North Tanglewire Court in Ellensburg. So it seems to match up, as that's the company. UBI number is 604-839-355. And the status, according to the Secretary of State, of their Master Plan Media is administratively dissolved. So I just found that out over the weekend. So I'm just going, well, is the company still in business? I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know what administratively dissolved means by the Washington State Department of Commerce. So that's my comments.
Well, did somebody have a comment? Shannon? Eugene?
I have a comment, but it looks like you were gonna say something, so please go ahead.
I was just going to comment, the return on investment and what we have invested in this has been an issue for me, as well as certainly the public input. The public input has been ongoing and not that positive. One of the big concerns that I have is that there has been, in this particular application, there is no participation of funds from them at all. They are asking for 100% of their budget. There is not even any listed, while they had mentioned that there was volunteer hours, there's nothing listed as in kind. The other thing that really concerns me about the application, and that's on page 8 of their application, is explain how the proposed program, project, or event will endeavor to become self-supporting in the future. And the answer here is, while we cannot be self-supporting without placing that burden on small businesses or by injecting advertising into visitor information, our program is committed to become self-sustaining through increased tourism-driven activity, Our goal is to stimulate overnight stays and visitor spending in Ocean Shores, which in turn will generate increased lodging tax revenues to offset the cost of our advertising and promotional efforts. I mean, to me, that seems as if it's a perpetual ask for funds. Is that we can't contribute anything, but the way that we will continue going is by increasing LTAC. So we can continue to ask for LTAC funds. So that is really an issue. I wrote that if they would seek other grants and funding, that I would consider a reapply for matching funds of 50% or less. But I do not see that we should fund 100% of a request. So I'm a deny on this one.
I think what they're doing is real difficult to do, and I applaud them for their
I
effort.
agree, it's extremely difficult, and you know, and some of the metrics are difficult too.
I did look at the application, but I didn't put my notes, but on the very top part of the application, it says other. It's not a nonprofit or for-profit, it says other, it's not for-profit, so I'm not sure if that qualifies too.
Just a quick question. If they go away, do you think that the visibility of Ocean Shores will be decreased by a significant amount?
Well, that's why I made my comments that they said that their assets were available to the city and that they would also release the Book Direct link to the city. So if that's something the city wants to obtain, I don't think that it should, you know, a lot of what I saw out there was social media posts and Instagram posts and things like that. That could be scheduled out, so someone could build that out. I mean, if George needs help with that, I'm sure he could find someone to do that at a service fee that's less than $245,000. But also, I just feel like if they were true in what they said, then I don't think the visibility should be that different. You know, I think the city was working really hard to promote itself as well. So there was a question over the weekend, I forget where it was, but Ocean Shores and the Marketing Coalition both said they marketed it a certain place. Maybe Sarah could chime in because I'm sure she remembers where it was. And I asked her, was it the same thing or was it different marketing? And it was different marketing from what I understand. So I don't think the visibility will go down. When I did a search on the search, like when I typed in the, you know, what their website should come up with, they were actually pretty far down on the internet that I was using. So I don't know if it was the day, the time, whatever, where they were pretty further down than actually Tourism Ocean Shores. But you know, again, I applaud them for trying. I can't in good faith say yes to this. And I would hope that it doesn't hurt us, but I can't say for $245,000 or $200,000 that it's giving us that return on investment either. So.
Yeah, and I just want to add that, you know, we do have marketing through the tourism Ocean Shore side, and maybe George can address that. But the city is working with Grays Harbor County and with Westport. And George, would you talk about the ads that we have done for a much more reasonable amount than is being requested here?
Yeah, we do have 5 or 6 videos that are currently have just gone out through Multiview that should actually start showing up here pretty quickly. We have somebody doing our social media posts and everything on a regular basis now, and also updating our websites on a regular basis. So I mean, I think you know, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert at it by any means, but I think we're trying to get to where we need to be with it. So, I mean, any other questions I'd be happy to answer, but I don't know that there's much more that I could add to it.
Well, I thought maybe you could talk about the evening magazine and the Seattle Refined that were.
The evening magazine, the Seattle Refined, was done more by Scott. He worked with the county more on that, so I would rather him be able to address those and how that came to be.
Okay, well,
I'd like to respond to one of Shannon's comments about the restaurant list. Because I noticed the same thing and I looked at it. When we first got our packets, I looked at that and I saw there were some restaurants with pictures and some without. And I didn't know what was going on, but I thought, and some with the pictures, you couldn't read the text. So I thought you may be better off if you didn't have any pictures, or if you're gonna have some pictures, you should have pictures for everybody. And you could send someone around town and take a crummy picture, and if I owned the business and I didn't like the picture, well, then you can give me a better one. And that would get them off the dime. At least you'd have a picture, and the same thing with all of the hotels. Go around and just take a snapshot from the road, because if I'm a visitor, I want to know what the storefront looks like so I can find it when I'm driving around. So, but that was my comment about Shannon's comments about the restaurant listing and the pictures.
Yeah, that's how we do them on our tourism, most of the tourism website is they're listed with no picture, but we have direct links to every one of the restaurants, the businesses that we have. Now with this one going out, if it is denied today, I think we need to take a look at how much more extensive that website needs to become as far as what businesses we want to include. Tourism is subjective, obviously, so do we need to include construction companies? Do we need to include these different companies? So I think we do need to take a look at how much more extensive our website needs to become at that point, because right now I think we are just pretty much promoting tourism, so with restaurants and hotels.
And the tool that they had that's apparently subjectively working, if that is turned over, the Book Direct tool, and isn't very costly, if it is something that could be worked out so that it was working properly, it is a definite advantage to all of the hotels in Ocean Shores, because what that tool does is it acts as like a mirror to your website. So it's putting in dates and it's pulling up for some hotels their rates for those days, and it allows you to click the link and it takes you to the hotel's website so that you can book with them based on the rates that were displayed to you. Now, if I'm a tourist and I'm lazy, I'm absolutely not going to call the Canterbury Inn if my rate isn't displayed, because I could see 3 others. And if those 3 or 4 others rates are decent, I'm just going to click those. So I really think that we would need to find out like why it works for some, why it doesn't work for others, but it is an invaluable tool. Expedia and Booking.com and the online travel agencies, depending on your rate structure with those people, hotels are paying like 18% up for a commission, right? So if the city has something that says, this is where you book, you click this link and it's showing the majority of the hotels that could be hooked up to it, that's awesome, because that's saving us hotels 18 to sometimes, for visibility, I might scale it. I might be paying 7% commission on top of the 18 just to get better visibility. So it is a great tool if it's working. So I really liked that they did that. But also to George's point, when you're doing the website and you're doing the listing, do you need to have like a builder on there, or, that's a little bit further into Ocean Shores. Like if you're moving here, you're probably going to need that, not if you're just coming for the weekend. But, I think, again, I don't want to take away, they did some great stuff. I think that it needs to be turned over to the city.
Any other comments?
I do, but Sarah has had her hand up forever, so I'll let her talk first.
So to the city administrator's credit, years and years and years ago, the city of Ocean Shores failed to reach an agreement, if you will, with Grace Harbor County on the use of LTAC funds and kind of collaborating for the entire county, knowing Westport and Ocean Shores were kind of their big ticket for LTAC. And they had recently got a new city administrator in for Grace Harbor County. And Scott reached out to them directly and started working with them immediately. So that's the big ticket here that was not a component during all of the other times that the Marketing Coalition was given money, is that there was these little bits being done through the convention center, given the amount of money that they were provided. But then there's also these other options where the city administrator for Ocean Shore, city administrator for Westport, and city administrator for Grace Harbor County have kind of taken that. Like that evening magazine wouldn't even have been brought to the table had the city administrator not gone and asked for it, and the county not been like, hey, we've wanted you guys to hang out for a long time, and nobody would answer the phone. And so I think that relationship getting resolved has made a huge impact right out of the gate. So just that in itself, again, to Shannon's point, if we were provided that website for the booking specifically for the hotels, and George was afforded marketing money, or the city in its totality was provided marketing money, it would make a huge difference right out of the gate in comparison to what it would have done 3-4 years ago.
Can I ask a question in relation to that then, since it seems like no one's in favor of funding this? Can we make an amended motion to include more money in George's budget to cover additional marketing, or how does that work?
No, I actually asked this question because after we had submitted our applications, George had provided a capital expense that he wanted, and we were given the legal that we couldn't because we were already past the application period. We would have to resubmit. You can, on his operational side, say we want to give him more. The council can also say we can give him more, but we can't do less. So the LTAC committee could make a recommendation on operational more, but we can't do specifics.
I
So
see.
it's kind of
A general
murky.
operational.
Yeah, it's kind of a murky water. I asked that specifically. I would encourage the city to come back in March and just say, hey, we need marketing dollars specific, and that be approved in April.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of comments if that's okay with the group.
Of course.
I guess just to take a step back, I don't know what it's going to cost the city to manage their own site. That's similar to what the coalition is doing. I think having some sort of cost benefit analysis on that would be a good first step if the city agrees. Secondly, I think I haven't known the coalition long, but it sounds like they put a tremendous amount of effort. I mean, I think the intentions might have been positive and with transparency as far as what they said in the interview. But I think that with regards to the return on investment and some of the other comments that were mentioned, I think it just hasn't been producing well. I'm just sort of curious if depending on the cost benefit analysis, if it were cheaper to have the coalition to continue to run it, perhaps putting in more stipulations or requirements so that they are more in line with what the community and the city would, and the businesses would need. Maybe that's something to also consider. Again, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I don't know how much more it's going to cost or how much less it's going to cost, but it is something I would want to call out. And I don't know how much effort it's going to take. I just based off of the last meeting, they said that they would turn over the assets, but I assume that requires some work. So, maybe there's I don't know if that's going to cost some amount of dollars within the next couple months. Could be, but I think that's something we might want to consider just to help with the transitionary period. But yeah, those are just a couple of my comments.
Just in comment to your comments, I'm looking at their budget, and so they have essentially $6,000 a month on creative content strategy, $10,000 on TV and streaming, $2,500 on social media and community engagement, and then $1,500 on placement of social media. The Book Direct website tool is actually $818.25. And then they have a placement and reach for Google Ads of $1,000. So it doesn't sound like it would be a very costly endeavor. I'm sure it's someplace in George's budget where he could absorb those numbers if they're able to turn over the assets as they said they could.
Yeah, I just assume that you would need the labor. I assume that's the service costs, like the monthly service to have access to those things or to place those ads on Google Ads. But I guess it's more of like, the manpower needed to fund and manage, etc. Those are just more like where I don't know how much that would cost to the city.
Well, George, can you comment on the fact that you already manage the tourism site?
Yeah, we actually do all of our own website. We do have a webmaster that if we run into any issues with, we can get a hold of. I have reached out a couple of years ago on the booking link. But because there is one or was one already in the process of being for Ocean Shores, they didn't really want to talk about it. It didn't sound like it would be hard to do the plugins and stuff. Now, it would probably take a little bit of work to figure out why some hotels are working and why some aren't. So as far as the increase in cost, as far as labor goes, I mean, it would always be nice to have help with it. Because I wear quite a few hats, but I don't think it's going to be anything that we can't do.
Okay, are there any more comments before we vote? Okay, would someone like to make a motion either to approve or deny?
I make a motion to deny the Ocean Shores Marketing Coalition's request.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Are you abstaining, Eugene?
Oh, I thought I said aye. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He said it just didn't come through.
Oh, okay. All right. We are done with the request. Future meeting schedule. Did you have something, Sarah? No, okay. Well, I think for a future meeting schedule, we will probably be looking at the beginning of the year. Because we do need to discuss how to do the reimbursement. We also need to discuss what our meeting schedule will be and how we will be interacting with the recipients of the awards. And in January, there may be a new chair. So we need to, because every January, the mayor assigns the council members to committees. So I may or may not be here. And I think we do need to look at the application form for hopefully a March reopening of that and our evaluation forms. Is there anything else for that you think we need to follow up on?
Yes, you had mentioned to may come back to some applicants that we went through before, specifically the Corgis and the Dark and Stormy Nights. If we wanted to re-vote on those, is it possible to give them more than what they wanted for their marketing?
No, not at this point. I'll defer to Sarah on that. But can we give them more before we close than what they voted on, than what they requested?
You can recommend more. The council can give them more, but they cannot give less than your recommendation.
Okay, so is there something we would like to reconsider?
I'd like to recommend more for Dark and Stormy Nights and the Corgi Festival for their marketing.
I guess my question is why we would give them more? If above what they already requested? Is just more of an anticipation of their cost might be, I guess I'm just a little, I would like to learn a little bit more in terms of why one would request more.
I would suggest that then they could broaden their advertising to other places, and to bring more people in. But
Correct me if I'm wrong, if they get awarded and we decide to reopen the applications in the early part of the year, they could reapply for additional funding if they're finding it was more expensive, correct?
Absolutely.
oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
My
I think
comments
that,
to that would be because Dark and Stormy Nights will be in October and the Corgi Festival is in the summer. I would be more inclined to like encourage them to come back and ask us if they may need something more for additional advertising and have specifics as to why they would need more for advertising than to generally just like when I had asked about more for George, it was marketing related for the city as a whole. I think you get into some murky waters when you're making the recommendation. Now, of course, the council could do whatever they want, but I think we need to try and just encourage people to maybe come back if they see they need to be more, but that's just my 2 cents on it.
Good point. I like that.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn?
Is the board gonna be amendable to a meeting in November so that we can chat about the reimbursement program, or are you gearing more towards January?
I'm good with November.
I'm good with November too.
I'm good with them, yeah.
I will be gone for most of December after the council meeting, but I'm good for November.
Even if the final recommendation isn't made until January on how we process them, I'd like to get the conversation started because it is new. And to Mr. Kim's point, like, what does that look like? What do we want to see from them before they go and expend money for reimbursement? I just want to make that very clear prior to the, maybe February of 2026.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Nicole, can you find us a time in November?
the library's pretty booked, looking right now.
We could send some dates out to you, just wanting to make sure that you guys are on board before we do that.
Okay, well, we'll leave it that you will contact us about possible November dates. Okay, thank you all again for the amount of time, your patience, your ability to sit for our 2 or 3 hour meetings. And we are now adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.